In this video, I'm going to be sharing 5 Divi tips. Now, some of these tips are going to enable you to design your websites faster, and some of these may also add a bit of creativity in your design workflow. Let's dive in. So the first example is going to be, let's say you create a page and you'd like to create a similar page in your next page design. So over here, I have a page which I'm going to create. So let's call this page 2. And the page we're trying to recreate is, let's say, this one here. So this is already on my website. So I'm going to click on Use Divi Builder. So every time we create a brand new page, these are the options that we normally get. So mostly when I design, I use build from scratch. So this time I'm going to clone an existing page. So our page here is called Baking Ebook. So all I have to do is to come over here to clone existing page. Now this is going to show all my pages on my website. So of course you have to know which page it is that you want to replicate. So in this case, we say baking. So I can either search for it here. In fact, let's search for it. And here we go, Baking Ebook. I'm going to select that. And here we go. So now I can go into any of these contents and start changing everything. So let's say I need to change my background image here. I can just come over here, go to my image, change this to a totally different image. So I'm going to go with this one, upload image. And you can see here that I've just quickly gone in and I've made that quick design. This has saved me quite a lot of time and in designing or recreating this page from scratch. So as you can see, this is a quick way of cloning an existing page on your website. Now let's move on to tip number 2. So tip number 2 is about copying and pasting. So sometimes you may need to design your website super fast, but redesigning each and every module can take you a bit of time. So let's say we are here and let's create a blurb. So I'm going to search for it. And here it is. So I'm going to spend a bit of time designing this. I'm going to come over here to the background and give this a background color. And then I'm also going to go into the design here, go into the text. I'm going to center everything. I'm also going to go into my title text here, give this a color, move on to my content text as well. And let's just give this a color as well. And I can see here that everything is way too close to the edges. So I may also want to give this some breathing space. So I'm going to come over here to spacing and let's go with, let's say 2%, maybe 3 on all sides. Okay, so as you can see here, we have some space here. In fact, I may need to add top and bottom as well. Let's go with 5 on all sides. I think that looks much better. Okay, so now that we have this, I'm also going to make this bold. So I'm going to go in here, change this to pop-ins, and then I'm also going to make it bold. Change this from regular to bold. Okay, so that's looking great. The only thing I need to do is to add an icon here. So I'm going to go to image and icon. And then I'm just going to give this my icon. And the icon I'm going to add is this one right here. Change the color and the size by coming over here to design, image and icon. And I'm going to change the color. And I'm also going to change the size. And to change the size, you need to come over here to use icon font size. And then we can reduce the size like that. So let's go down to about, say, 50. Okay. So as you can see now, things are looking better here, but we still have space here at the top, which does not look great. So I may want to go back to my spacing here and increase my top and bottom to about, say, 22. So that's looking great. I'm going to save that. So let's say as we're designing, I also want to create another one that looks similar to this. So normally if you're a beginner, this is what you would do. You would come over here, search for Blurb like that. And then you want to go through all the steps that I've taken to design this. Well, that's not the way to do it because you're going to waste a lot of time. So ideally, what you want to do is to duplicate this like that and then drag it over here. So that's tip number 2, it's duplicating. Tip number 3 is to use shortcuts. So if you hit Command C, if you're on a PC, it's Control C. And then you want to come over here, put your mouse over here on where the module is going to go, and then just hit Command V. And there we go, or Control V. So that's your copy and paste. So just by doing that, we were able to quickly go in and copy our design and add it over there. So now let's say you have all your designs, they look this way, and then you decide, you know what, you want to change the colors. So what you would do is you want to come over here. Now let's change the background color. So I'm going to come over here, change my background color to, okay, let's go with that. Or maybe even that. Okay. So let's say this is our background color. And we may also need to change our font here. So I'm going to change my font here to Poppins like that and save. So now when it comes to updating all this other content here, again, it's going to be a problem. We need to go in and change the colors, each and every one of these. So that's not how we want to do it. And this is where now we have even more options. And this time, what we're going to do is to hover over this area, click on these three little dots. And this is where we can extend blurb styles. So if I click here on extend blurb styles, it's asking me throughout this page. If I click on this drop down, it says this section, this row, and so on, or this column. So I'm going to say this row because that's all I have right now. So I'm going to select this row and extend. And there we go. I've just updated all of them all in one go. So as you can see, this is a very, very powerful way of making quick changes to our design. All right, so in the next tip, I'm going to be talking about our page layout. So I'm going to come over here to add a new section. But this time I'm going to go for speciality. So here with speciality, we can see that there's several ways that we can design our page. So let me go with, say, this option right here. And now that I have all my information here, I can go in and start adding all my sections. So I'm going to start with my first module here. So let's say this is going to be a video module. I'm going to select that, save that. Now over here, I also have different ways I can set up my column structure. So I'm going to start off with a single column and let's add a text module in here like that. Save that. And then I can also add, let's say, my button in here. Save that. Now remember, we also used a way to duplicate our buttons. I'm just going to duplicate here and then just drag this over to the right. And now I have a totally different layout for my page. And let's say I want these buttons closer together. I can just align them. So I'm going to come over here, align to the right. And as you can see, they're now closer. And let's say I wanted my information here to be even closer. I can just go in and go into design, sizing, and I can use gutter width and reduce to about 2. And already I have a superior layout here, which looks much better than what I would normally have if I'm not using this speciality section. Okay, so let's do this one more time. If I go to regular here, it's going to be a bit difficult for me because all I have is just these structures to build my site. But if you wanted to have a different type of layouts, this is the best way to have it by using speciality sections. All right, so moving on, the next tip I want to share with you is over here. So let's say you're designing your site, but as you're hovering over in some areas here, it's not really showing you where things are. So how you're going to be using the Divi Builder is going to depend on how you prefer it. So the options for that are over here. So I'm going to click on these three little dots here, and this is where we have these different modes. So I'm going to activate all our modes here and show you one by one how these work. So now that I've activated all of these, mostly we are on the hover mode, and that is the default one. But let's say you're designing your site and you realize, you know what, I want to see where everything is. This is where you can switch on grid mode. So grid mode now, it just shows you where everything is. And the really cool thing about this is as you're designing, everything is all highlighted. So all you have to do is to go into the settings of whatever item you need to go into. So for example, let's say I want to go and work on this button here. I can just click on this gear icon and straight away I go into all my settings. Now I can go to the actual button and start adding all my colors. I can also add my background color like that. So I can just continue designing my site like that. And once I close out of this, you can see everything. I mean, all my grid is showing. All my areas here that I need to click into are all showing. So as you can see, this is very powerful if you want to see where your designs start, where they end. So this is a really cool feature. Now we can also go in and choose click mode. Now how click mode works is you have to click first in order for these icons to show and then you can do whatever it is that you want to do. So you have to click first in order for you to do that. So in this case, let's say I want to go into my row settings. I can now go into my row settings, but the thing is I had to click first. So this one here is quite clean because it won't show you where everything is in terms of all these options for us to click on. It just really hovers and it just shows you where everything starts and ends. But as soon as you want to go in and click and work on something, this is where you click, and then all these now start showing. So now I can go in and go into my settings, or let's say it's the button I have to click, and then the controls start to show. But without clicking, the controls won't show. Now this one here, the hover mode, this is the basic one where we hover and then everything shows, and then I can then click and go in. So as you're designing, you can just choose which one you want to work with. In my case, I like using a combination of hover and click. So sometimes I may be using this or I may be using that. It just depends with the situation. But this is how we use our different modes. Okay, so let's move on to the next item. And what I'm going to be talking about here is our settings panel. So I want to click here so that it shows first. So our settings panel here also has options. So we also have different modes here. So the one I'm going to start off with is this one here, expand modal. So if I click here on expand, you can see now that it has expanded and pretty much it's showing everything on this screen. But of course, it's taking a lot of screen real estate, and this is just way too much. So I don't think you want to be using this in this mode. So let's just shrink this. And there's also another way to use this, and that is I can just drag it over here to the side, design what I need to design over here. For example, I can go into my settings, and as I am designing here, everything is over here to my right. I can just move this like that. And as I'm designing, I can see what I'm designing here. But of course, it's up to you how you want to be using this. But for my case, I prefer to have this docked on the left here so that all the changes I'll be making here, I can see them happening over here to the right. Now, with that selected, I can also extend this. So you can see here, I can make it bigger so that it can be almost like a split screen as I'm designing. The only challenge is as you're designing this way, this now is going to change into either the phone view or the tablet view as I'm designing. So that is the challenge. So that is why I just prefer designing this in my normal view here. But as you can see, this is very versatile. You can use this in different ways. Now, if I also click on this drop down, there's also other options that I have here, like save to the libraries, pre-test, disable, lock, and so on. So let's say I want to lock something here. That means as I'm designing, I cannot go in and pretty much do anything here because everything is locked. And then if I need to unlock, I can just always come over here and unlock it. Finally, I want to talk about how you can export your design in a quick and easy way. And that is by coming over here to these two arrows. So if I click here, I can give this page a name. So I can call this colors page, hit export. It'll take a moment. And now that my design has been exported, I can see it here on the bottom of the screen. And if you want to import it, you can just click on the import tab. And then you can just drag and drop it here. You can replace existing content and then import it. Now that gets imported onto my page, and all the design settings, colors, fonts, etc. are all going to be on this page. All right, guys, so these are my tips for using Divi. Don't forget, if you hit the subscribe and bell notification, you'll be notified every time I release new tutorials. And I also have a course down in the video description below called the Web Design Masterclass. This course will teach you how to design professional looking websites from scratch. All right, guys, until next time, see you in the next one. Take care.